why we're making everyone aware of this, so they understand that we're going to be on top of it. That's the purpose.
Very much appreciate
And to your point about paying interest on a loan, can that legitimately so be added to the cost that we try and recover from the folks who have chosen not to pay? So can that be a legitimate cost that we assess against them as a additional penalty, if you want to look at it that way, because it's costing those of us that are paying our dues that much more because we haven't been able to pay off these loans? Can that be tacked on as an additional fee to incentivize, if you will, people to get off the dime and pay like the rest of us?
I don't know for sure, I doubt it, but they are being assessed, all the late fees and interest and all of those by the amount they haven't paid. So that may be double dipping in terms of that. So we are going after all of that.
I would say we're incentivizing. Yeah, and from, I think the 8 or so comments I've heard here, people are very much in favor of go after the people that aren't paying.
We agree. The other thing the Finance Committee is doing is in the month of February, we're meeting with our attorneys for them to lay out step by step what's the process, how they go through it, what our options are, if we could be more aggressive, so we're in a better position to answer those questions. But rest assured, we are going to be all over this as best as we can.
Jerry, what is your-
I think his hand was up first. but-
Jared, you mentioned the coupon book. Nothing makes me more insane than somebody claiming I didn't pay a bill that I paid because of their operational inefficiency. I prepaid all the assessments that were due December 31st, November 20th. The minute I knew about it, I do everything online. They never received it. They never processed my ACH check. And then I get a different bill saying, and then I get another bill late, one coupon. I do everything online. And the operational inefficiency of the billing process is where it starts and where we can improve our collections. Because if we're unaware that we have amounts due, and if I have 3 residences, if you mail me a bill, I will not receive it and I will not pay it. I get everything via email, and I cannot believe how inefficient and inaccurate First Residential Services have been in processing my ACH payments that are set up automatically. So I don't have to think about it. What are they doing to improve the billing process? I think it's a mess.
I can't say I disagree with you.
I can't pay what I don't know I owe.
Right.
Period.
So there are some statutes that kick in. Those of you who sign up to pay through the Click Pay service, you click a box that you choose to receive all your statements electronically. Those who don't, by statute, must get a paper statement, coupon, whatever it may be, sent to your home.
I get both.
Sure. So I understand where you're going with that. Have you come to the office and we spoke to Eileen to see precisely what happened with your account? But I don't want to get into specifics with your specific account. I'm not saying issues don't happen with First Service all the time. Eileen and I can tell you all sorts of issues that we deal with behind the scenes trying to get the
It's
process
frustrating to me,
better.
but my point is, we can sit here and talk about collections, but if bills are not going out in a timely manner, we'll be talking about collections ad infinitum.
Well, I can tell you this, that we met all statute requirements.
I don't care about statute requirements, I care about the quarry's requirements. That's what matters. We need
Sure.
to look at what our requirements are and process these invoices in the most efficient manner possible
Okay.
to meet our unique requirements.
Correct, but your bills don't come here. Your bills go to First Service. They go to a lockbox. Correct. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying the process isn't here at the office. It isn't here at the quarry. The inefficiencies are happening in a PO box. It's happening in a
I'm
lockbox.
not criticizing.
Right,
anyone.
so
Of course,
this-
we as the quarry need to demand that they
Correct.
get their act together.
Correct. You're preaching to the choir, yes, sir.
Good.
Now, I understand, Tim, there's only one metric that matters. 100% of the bills go out on time, and they're 100% correct. If you have that to start out, then you have a chance to get better collections. And we'll endeavor to do that. I'm sorry, we're going to keep to the same rules. Save your question. We want to get through the whole agenda, and then we'll come back to questions, okay? Thank you.
Okay. With my update, it's going to be pretty quick. We've got some new additions to the staff, to the food and beverage side. See some new faces, make sure you say hello to them. Give them a nice Corey welcome. Mulching throughout the community started last week. They started with the pine straw sections that are closest to the golf course to make sure that they blend in nicely. We're now moving on to the cypress mulch throughout the community. They've started in the front, they're working their way back. They've done some at the beach club. I think they've done siesta, but now they're starting to work their way back. If for whatever reason they miss your bed, please let us know in the office. Or if they damage anything, let us know in the office. We'll be sure to get with Cintron's operational staff. Pressure washing. We will be starting community-wide pressure washing this coming Monday. Project never taken place here at Corey, at least none that I'm aware of. Sidewalks, curbing, gutters, the whole 9 yards, everything's going to get taken care of. We're looking at a 4-week project once that starts. Transponders, if for whatever reason your transponder all of a sudden stops working, there could be a chance you haven't turned your paperwork into the office. Please get your paperwork updated to the office, either to Eileen or Billy Joe. We've started deactivating transponders if you haven't done that process yet. Roofs. Got an email last week from the community about getting your roofs cleaned and your driveways cleaned. If you do have an issue with roof repairs because of the hurricane, please let us know here in the office. We have a tally going so we know not to hit you with a violation notice. Open board of directors positions update. We have a total of 3 candidates that have turned in their resumes. Jerry Solomon is one of them, Kevin Mooney is another, and Steve Brown is another. Those 3 candidates are running for 2 open board positions. The board has tentatively announced that we're going to be talking about a meet the candidates potentially next Friday. Need to get with candidates obviously to make sure your availability for next Friday at 4 o'clock. I'll get with you guys after the meeting. Okay? Okay. We're going to go on to some committee updates. Effective immediately, we're going to be creating a fines committee. The fines committee is going to be made up of members of the ad hoc, or not the ad hoc, the modifications follow-up committee. The members of that committee are Laura Severance, Tom Oakner, I'm forgetting one other, Peggy Franklin, and Kathy Jones. Do I have a first from the board to adopt that committee? Do I have a second? All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Just so everybody knows, that committee is a necessity in any HOA should we want to move forward with fining homeowners who are, for any various number of reasons. Those fines need to go in front of the committee for their review and their official sign-off. The Ad hoc Governing Documents Committee is going to be going from ad hoc to a permanent standing committee. Do I have a first from the board? Do I have a second? All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. For those of you who don't know, it is one of the hardest working committees we have. Tom Schobeck, George Single, and I believe that Duke is still on that committee as well too. They have gone line by line of all of our governing documents, our rules and regulations, and have really been very helpful to myself and the board. So they are now a permanent standing committee. CDDF.
Okay, I want to go through some of the significant decisions being made by our CDD, Corey CDD board following the hurricane. Okay, there was a CDD meeting on 12/12/17, and at that meeting, there was a motion that was unanimously passed to accept Terrell Hall and Associates' proposal for engineering of the shoreline repair and to authorize the staff to negotiate a contract. There was also a motion at that meeting that also unanimously passed, authorizing Ron Rex, who is a CDD board supervisor, to work with the staff in negotiating the contract. There was also a CDD board meeting on January 16th. At that meeting, Mr. Rex explained that the initial scope of the Terrell Hall and Associates proposal included work beyond repairs. The basic proposal submitted by Terrell Hall and Associates was $69,750 with engineering and bid documents and construction oversight, both required for the project, totaling between $182,000 and $365,000. Joshua Maxwell from Terrell Hall and Associates stated that the bid could be reduced if a minimum set of drawings were done, but was reluctant to reduce any survey work. Mr. Evans from J.R. Evans Engineering, who is the engineer of record for the CDD, stated that he felt that there was value to a fresh set of eyes from Terrell Hall and Associates, but that he could do the work at a cost not to exceed $110,000, as he has the original drawings and the history of the quarry. J.R. Evans Engineering originally designed and constructed the riprap. Mr. Rex stated that we already know what's out there and we know where the rock went. He felt it was a simple solution to creating the original shelf in the lake, and this statement is taken from the CDD minutes. Also at that meeting, Barry Domofsky, who is the chair of the CDD, opined that the QCA saw a conflict of interest with Mr. Evans' involvement, but the CDD does not and would have to pay up to $300,000 extra to do what Mr. Evans can do. This statement also taken from the CDD meeting minutes. A motion was unanimously passed at this meeting approving the contract with Terrell Hall and Associates to include a lake use analysis under the scope of work and not to exceed $10,000 for assistance and peer review of the restoration of the shoreline repair. A motion was also made and unanimously passed authorizing engineering work for Hurricane Irma shoreline repairs to J.R. Evans Engineering, subject to funding at an amount not to exceed $110,000. That is for the engineering analysis, not for the repair. Then there was a meeting, and I hope many of you found a way to get there yesterday, of the CDD board. And the CDD board clarified that J.R. Evans Engineering has the lead on the shoreline repair, and Terrell Hall and Associates will be in a supporting role, as approved at the January 16th meeting. Final design will be signed off by J.R. Evans Engineering. Many comments were raised as to how the CDD can move in this direction due to the lawsuit, as well as it is a reversal of the decision that they made at their 12/12/17 meeting to award the engineering contract to Terrell Hall and Associates. The CDD in response said that they made the decision to save money. In response to other questions about whether a bathymetric analysis would be done to test out what the CDD said, that there was now a toe or shelf at the bottom of our lake because the rock had fallen in, they did respond that there will be a bathymetric analysis done in this regard. Because it is not a good assumption that we now have a a shelf or a toe in the lake just as a result of the fallen rock. We don't know its stability or anything else until that bathymetric analysis is done. Quarry resident Stan Omlin, who is a professional engineer who I just met yesterday, serves on the Voluntary Shoreline Committee that was appointed shortly after the hurricane. And Mr. Omlin has extensive riprap engineering experience, and he questioned the CDD in yesterday's meeting about the original engineering specs that were used to build the quarry shoreline, the differing slopes that exist, the rock size that was used, etc. He was asked to assist the two engineering firms and provide his contact information. Mr. Omlin requested copies of the two proposals from Terrell Hall and J.R. Evans Engineering. The Terrell Hall proposal was included in one of the books or agendas of the CDD, but no one has ever seen the J.R. Evans Engineering proposal. That is a public record. You can request it, as Mr. Omlin has, as I have today. These proposals are available upon request. They're available upon request to Ms. Kathleen Daly, who works for Special District Services and manages our quarry CDD at Kathleen Daly, or kdaly at sdsinc.org. There was also a discussion and presentation regarding financing for the shoreline erosion, and a term sheet was expected by next week. The next CDD meeting will be held on 2/7/18 next week at 1:30 p.m. So a few comments. All of us, the CDD board, the QCA board, and our homeowners want our shoreline repaired as soon as possible. However, there are a number of different opinions as to the right way of getting to the finish line in this regard. As homeowners, we must insist that at this time, the riprap is done properly. We need to understand the condition of the entire lake, analyzed by a marine engineering company, not as determined by the CDD nor J.R. Evans Engineering, who designed and constructed the original shoreline, which was failing prior to Hurricane Irma. Please attend the CDD meetings and be an active voice in our community. Any questions? Yes, Diane.
The question I had earlier, how much have we paid Citron post-Irma for the cleanup?
Adam, you have that number, how much we paid
I'm sorry, what's the
Citron?
question?
She asked how much we paid Citron and post-Hurricane Irma cleanup to date.
About $950,000?
That was for everyone.
For cleanup, stump removal, dump fees, tree staking, irrigation repairs, we have spent $778,000 to date. As of 12/31, I'm sorry.
Was it the board's decision to have Citron work on personal residence lots and charge the entire HOA for that?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Diane.
Well, they did a lot of work on people's lots from the hurricane. If someone had a tree bent over or fell over or broke, Citron repaired, worked on personal residences' lots. I'm assuming that's what the $700-something thousand includes.
Diane, the board authorized that? Yes, and the board assessed separately for that, for the single-family home lots. The condo owners did not get lumped into that, and they have not paid for that.
Yeah, the two assessments related to Hurricane Irma, there was one for $833 that applied to all 900 homes in the community. The second assessment of $345 was only attributable to the 581 single-family homes who are provided landscaping services by Citron. So those would be the homes that would have been serviced by Citron if they had trees laying down and those kind of things. Okay, we want to move now to the wave study results. As I just mentioned, Mr. Joshua Maxwell of Terrell Hall and Associates, who I just talked about in the CDD proposal, was commissioned by the CDD to do a wave study analysis that we announced last week, that was done yesterday, to determine if we can return to boating on the lake above the idle speed that we currently have in effect. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Joshua Maxwell at this time.
Otherwise, I can just talk about it a little bit.
Adam, he wants to know if he can set up his computer to,
You should be able to. We've got the connection right here in the middle. Folks, real quick, while he's setting up, I did promise you a little bit of a landscaping update from the landscape committee, so let me read that real quick while we're doing some setup. Like I said, they did a review of the community areas in need of repair. They did it on January 4th. They found many areas needing improvement, that the decided focus is on the worst first. They also toured several communities to compare and to obtain ideas for improvement. The committee also toured a few communities that they highlighted to show how we could enhance what we already have. Most cul-de-sacs look terrible. That's one of the issues we're going to bring up to the board. Obviously, we're continuing to focus on the cleanup, the rip out of dead trees. We want to add dirt in most of these areas immediately. They want to develop planting plans while the work is being done. We're going to meet with Cintron and come up with some designs. Any designs I come up with will be going out for bid. We're going to have quarterly meetings with Cintron as well to continue to discuss enhancement and the improvements of the different areas. And of those enhancements and improvements, they're going to be meeting with the board liaison, they're going to be making their presentation, and then they will present it to the rest of the board. Okay? Turn over to Josh.
All right, thank you for your patience. Gave him the PDF that he'll be bringing up as a draft of the report will be issued to the CDD. I'm going to bring it up on my end so I can reference it as we talk back and forth. If you hit Control L, it should maximize the screen. And
Control what?
Control L.
No.
Now the text isn't quite so little. Let's see if I can improve it on my end.
Pretty hard.
Okay, this is just I'll reference the exhibits more than the letter itself, but this is what will be issued to the CDD later this week. So essentially, we started off by trying to find out what is the average rock size left on the lakes after Hurricane Irma. And at Stone Lake, you have much larger rock on average than what's left on Boulder Lake. Boulder Lake, we kind of qualified the average rock, being conservative, is about 2 inches. And then you have a lot of rock on Stone Lake in the 4 to 6 range, but I use 4 inches for all the modeling. With the engineering, you have to be conservative, because if I say everything's 6, then it can all take a bigger wave, and that's not exactly the right way to approach this. We want to be as conservative as possible to make sure that we're not going to have any issues with erosion due to boat use. So checking the, back-checking all the equations, we started with what is the maximum wave height that the rock can withstand. And using the shoreline protection manual issued by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, it calculated out to about 1 1/4 foot in Stone Lake and about 0.8, so 8/10 of a foot, roughly 9-10 inches on Boulder Lake. So after that, we met with your boating community, or your boating committee, and they went through the typical wake sizes that your different recreational users create while they're skiing, wake surfing, wakeboarding, fishing, pontoon boating, personal watercraft. We kind of looked at the whole threshold. And the largest wake that's basically capable on this lake is by your ballasted wake surfing boats. And we were working with some of your committee members who said that the biggest wave that they can produce is about 3.5 feet. So looking at a 3.5 foot wave, 200 feet from shore, how much does it decay when it breaks on shore at the riprap? And you can do all the modeling in the world, but every single boat is different. It's all based on displacement, power, that all gets transferred into the wave energy, and it's not just one wave. It's the initial wave that they're surfing on or jumping with the wakeboard, and then it's all the other waves behind it. And surprisingly, unlike a wind-driven wave, a boat wave reduces very fast. Wind-driven waves is a constant force. It's always pushing on the wave until it makes contact with shore. Whereas the boat wake, after the boat goes by, there's no longer any forces pushing that wake. It's only what was initially created by the boat itself. So very quickly it dissipates. So using the best equations I could find, I anticipated the boat wake would be roughly about 1 to 1 1/4 foot, which seemed like it would be suitable for Stone Lake with your 200-foot existing no wake zone that your new lake rules have already incorporated. Yesterday we did the testing, and what was anticipated to be just over a foot when they went by with the wake surfing boat turned out to be 6 inches or less. So the fact that it was 6 inches or less and you have a stable shoreline for up to just over a foot wave, we were able to conclude that the boat wakes created by the recreational use is much less than what you guys experience with cold fronts coming through. I've gotten a few different videos and pictures from residents. I met with a gentleman yesterday while I was in his backyard doing wave measurements. He was going to send me some as well. I need to contact him so we can email him back. But basically, from my observations of what you guys have already seen, with a cold front or even an afternoon thunderstorm, you have larger waves than what's generated by wake surfing and wakeboarding. With skiing and pontoon boats, when it got to the shore, it was such a small wave, you guys could have much smaller rock and still be stable with what the boats are capable of producing. And we did multiple passes. It wasn't just one pass. We did 3 to 4 passes with each boat to come up with a good average. What that also did is it showed if there was maybe multiple boats in a line, because some of the passes were one right after the other. So we tried to cover all bases with it, and the personal watercraft, he won the smallest wave award. His largest wave was just over an inch when it came ashore. So I was able to revise my initial email sent Friday night. Originally I was thinking, okay, based off of what the equations say, 200 feet is good on Stone Lake. We probably want to look at 300 feet on Boulder to get additional room for decay, and then we've got a beach, with very small granulars, not riprap. And maybe we want to look at extending that. the testing concluded that your 200-foot zone, which is our minimum recommendation for other lakes, for safety reasons, is enough to allow proper decay of the wave until it makes landfall ashore. So therefore, it's our recommendation to restore the recreational use on the lakes, at your discretion. Yes.
Well, based on your analysis now is what happened prior to the hurricane. So why do you think, we keep hearing that the lake failed prior to the hurricane? What would have caused that if you're saying it's not from the boats?
Unfortunately, I haven't been on your lake since I was doing some initial survey work with my dad in college. So I have not seen any of the failures, pictures, or any data, so I can't really comment on that too much.
In your expert opinion, what is the wind capacity that this lake can handle without causing any issues on the shoreline?
Today,
Yes.
so if we go to the second or third page of the report, what I did is I tried to back check everything. So what are you guys capable of withstanding right now? Okay, you went to the third page. Can you make sure it's on the third or the second?
Which page was
Okay, so right now on the third page, either one will work. Either one will work. I'm sorry. So at the second page, this is the results of our test showing that the very minimal waves created by the boats. But was part of the research I did was what is the equivalent wind speed that these wakes created by the boats are creating on the shore? And the answer is it's roughly about a 16 to 20 mile an hour wind is roughly what it would take to generate the exact same waves that these boats are capable of making. Now, when I backed out what can the shoreline take, it was roughly around 29 to 30. So 29 to 30 mile an hour sustained winds right now is what your riprap should withstand without further erosion.
Is that normal for these type of lakes?
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of lakes like this in South Florida. We've been working with a few other engineering firms up in Fort Myers that are doing boating on the lakes like Miramar and a new one that's starting to be developed. And basically my recommendation has always been rock sizes for different magnitudes of protection. So depending on what mile per hour somebody wants, here's the rock size to be able to produce that protection.
Can you explain why you're qualifying your statement as right now? Your shoreline can take 30 mile per hour winds right now. What's that qualifier based on?
The qualifier is based on your rock, the conservative density on the rock itself, but the size, density, and also the slope. So the surveys that were provided by JRM show that you have on average about a 3-to-1 slope in certain areas on Boulder Lake, Stone Lake, and on Boulder Lake you've got close to a 7-to-1 because it eroded so much shoreline you actually have a more stable slope. And also since the storm you guys have also had the water levels come back down to